Hi, my name's Frederick Krasey and I'm from FKC Health. And today I'm talking with Rick Boland from Mentor Youth Project. I've had a big stint in my life where I've been involved with youth work and working with homeless street kids and dispossessed youth. I was with the Geelong Christian Youth Resource Centre and liaised with the Ballerine City Council, with the Red Cross, Salvation Army and St Vincent de Paul, and I had a network of about 13 churches there that were involved in youth work. Rick, tell me a little bit about yourself. Oh, and I also was with Genesis from the Lighthouse College in Springvale and with their op shop in Dandenong, and worked with homeless street kids and some people who had some pretty powerful challenges with alcohol and single mums and things like that. So tell me a little bit about you, Rick, in your youth.
Well, I'm Rick Boland. I'm the founder of Mentor Youth Project, which is operating here on the Mornington Peninsula at some level during the coronavirus pandemic. So my foray into youth work started with mentorship with Frederick, and that really instilled a lot of values in me personally, which I think really opened the gate and paved the way to the work I'm doing now, and why mentorship is so important in the work I do. So that did lead me to create Mentor Youth Project out of the what I felt at the time, the necessity of offering something a bit innovative, a bit fresh, to oil or grease the wheels, I guess you could say. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, just repair it a little bit, grease it up a little bit.
Cool.
And I feel mentoring is a big part of that. It's not a very much talked about thing. There are a few mentoring organisations out there that work with young people, but I feel that it could be a bit more utilised in the education system and just in the community as well.
Well, where we're coming from today is we picked a topic about the health of youth and how it impacts their behaviour and where they're headed with it. My passion in life is to raise consciousness and awareness in myself and others. And I think a lot of people are so unaware of how critical health is. For instance, the 4 areas of health that I find part of the puzzle is sleep, and a lot of street kids don't get much. They're up late and it's spasmodic where they sleep and how they sleep, and the youth are usually communicating very late at night and not getting to bed to sleep until way past 12, like 2, 3 in the morning, staying up watching movies. So sleep is impacted. From a hydration point of view, the second point, they're drinking a lot of soft drinks and alcohol and substance drinks rather than good fresh water. And from an exercise point of view, they're gaming and they're couch potatoes and lethargic, and they're not exercising. They don't have an exercise regime. And then from a diet point of view, take away food. So all those things really powerfully impact where their gut bacteria and things like that are affecting their decision-making mechanism and their thinking principles, their behaviour, moods. Yeah. So what have you found in that area with your work with youth?
Well, I echo everything you've said about the late night, the social media. They say that looking at your phone screen at night or in bed is like a cup of coffee to the eyes, or a hit of caffeine. I think it's a bit more like heroin, to be honest, because there's that addictive side of it, and coffee's addictive as well. But I think it just sort of zombifies you out, and I'm talking personally as well, because I'm no saint when it comes to my phone buzzing at night, and I'm like, I'll just have a little look before I go to sleep, and then I'm like restless, and and there's that real thing now of FOMO, which is the fear of missing out, and I think that's the big thing to consider with social media addiction. that there's something going on somewhere in your friend's life or someone else's life or online, or I know there's a lot of anxiety, a lot more anxiety these days because young people are being exposed to world events and war and other important, something that would be considered back in the day as adult issues are now affecting a younger population because they've got 24-hour access to it.
It's absolutely incredible that the psychological terrain of today is as such that a lot of the youth feel out of 7 billion people, how are they going to matter or count or compete, where the superstars are shown as these are the people who are going to be accepted, these are the people who are going to be loved, these are people who are going to be admired, they can do triple somersaults on the trampoline, they can break records and do these amazing skateboard tricks. What about me? I'm an ordinary person. So what's happened is the previous generations have left such a high bar for young people to feel that they're going to make a mark in the world and get that love and acceptance. A lot of them have just copped out, and therefore their health and their self-love has taken such a low priority. And I think, you know, in indigenous cultures and things like that, where there were rites of passage, where the boy went through adulthood and had a mentor and a coach and trained the child up in the way that they should go. In this day and age, a lot of children are left to their own devices because parents are struggling to survive in the mess that they created.
And there's no pathfinding, is there, to guide them into that rites of passage, into adulthood. Kids have grown up a lot faster, I think. Been forced to. When I say grow up, I mean being forced to live more in an adult world.
And what are some of the elements that you put forward to the youth that you work with that are in parallel with rites of passage, self-worth, self-esteem, self-love? What are some of the things that you are steering youth towards to bring them back out of this, I call it social coma? You know, because a lot of the children today are on autopilot. They wake up, they hit Macca's or the supermarket or the dole office or whatever it is, or the streets or the malls, or they go into that introverted world on social media, or they just go to their culture clubs and whinge and complain about the mess that the previous generation left. Now, a lot of people are down on this. I'm not. I have the most incredible respect for young people. That's where I get my energy. And I bounce off them all the time. And I find their intellect is not in any way impaired or inferior to mine. I find they're actually so deep and profound, they can't make sense about the mess we left, and therefore they're cynical. So what sort of thought processes and directions and processes do you have?
I think what you said before was really interesting about that bar that's been set on social media now, of maybe making young people feel like they're never going to attain that, they're never going to attain greatness. They're watching the like counter and the followers and all of that jazz. That's all it is, really. It's just digital jazz. It's fakery, and nobody's really going to put the misery on social media, are they? That's not how you gain followers. That's not how you gain likes. It's all the perfection that people want. That's what's causing that FOMO, that fear of missing out. So going off that, what I try and do in my mentoring work is focus a lot of it on life purpose, what Japanese people call ikigai, which is living purpose, what you get out of bed for in the morning, what you live for. And it's focused around, 4 main concepts, which is awakening to the strengths and values that you've got inside you, finding that life purpose, developing a everyday life code or an everyday philosophy to hold yourself accountable, using your values and your strengths and your morals to sort of to dictate that, weave through that, so that they can concentrate and get back to what they're capable of, not what the rest of the world is capable of. What can I use inside myself to direct or find a path, and you develop a compass to navigate through life?
It's interesting. For me, I found routines, habits, patterns that helped me in check for myself that was self-imposed. I didn't like external forces put on me and all this accountability crap, because no one wants someone bossing them around. But unless you've got some level of discipline and routine, you're lost. You're all over the place like spaghetti western. So for me, I started walking with a friend 5 days a week. I do 9 kilometres a day, 5 days a week. Now, I don't recommend that for everybody. Their physical structure may not make it. And I'm not recommending walking for everybody. I'm recommending you find your own path. You find your own path. I do a daily meditation, 20 minutes in the morning. I eat certain foods, but I'm not a robot. I'm not regimented. I can break these patterns, but I've always got some sort of structure under me so that I can get through life okay. And I find with a lot of youth, they're lacking structure. They're lacking some sort of monorail or track to run on to take them towards a more fortuitous or optimistic future. I often talk
internal
about,
and external.
yeah, well, I often talk about living into an optimistic future. Is that something that you try to instill in the youth, an optimistic future?
And I've found in doing that, and watching that slow change and that slow awakening to finding those values in life, they teach me in return. I mean, young people are amazing, as you know, in their ability to make you realize stuff that you're trying to teach them. And that as adults, we forget ourselves.
And then we most need to learn.
Exactly. Like some days, and you do the coaching and you do the mentoring, you rock up and you're feeling a little, you can't operate 100% all of the time. But then you go and you see these kids, and they're the opposite. The days you're feeling a little bit off, they're feeling at the top of their game. Like I used to take a young dude, we'd spend our time at the library in the community doing some of the work, and then we'd go into a cafe and we'd grab a hot chocolate, and that was our thing. And then we'd walk across to the beach, and it's those little times when you are telling them, or you're trying to show them that if we step outside of, out of our comfort zones, that's where life happens, And he sips his hot chocolate, and he goes, this kid's about 13. He goes, he's just feeling the sunshine, and we're walking along the beach, and right in that moment I'm saying, there's never nothing going on when you're aware. And then a guy walks up with a cat on a leash, and that was completely random, and that's something an experience we shared. That moment, step outside. The life awaits out there. A guy walks by with a cat on a leash, and he thought that was the most amazing thing in the whole world, and it was completely random. A man walking a cat on the beach. There's never nothing going on, right? And I think that that's the big important thing is re-engineering that apathy to life that has developed from having young people being forced to live in an adult world.
Well, something that really touches my soul is your actual journey, because you're now a living expression of that experience. How it would be really great if you tell the viewers here your journey of where it started and how you got here, just a good encapsulation, because I think your story is very encouraging, because my hit rate of turning people's lives around and making magic happen is not that high. I see lots and lots of people, hundreds. And it's only when you come across somebody who wants out of where they're at and are prepared to do the work, because you can't fix people. You can't pull them out of anything, really. They want to get at. You can put the ropes in the holes, you can put the ladders there, but you can't force them to change because they've got to want it. Now, you obviously want to change in your life. How about you tell us your story? I reckon it's a pretty cool story.
How in depth? All right, I'll give it the abridged version.
The abridged version.
Well, yeah, I guess skipping the childhood stuff. I was at a point in my life when I felt, not knowing that it was already inside me and out there in the world, I didn't have a purpose. I was on work for the dole, and that was not satisfactory. I found myself doing work for the dole. This is after recovering from my mental breakdowns. So it was a little bit raw. I was ready to embrace life, but I was still stuck in this little quicksand of being on Centrelink payments and having to work in this factory packing books. And there was that sense, that little stone in my stomach saying, this isn't what life is about, man, there's more to it. And then as part of being on Centrelink, I had to attend, I think it was Serena Russo at the time, one of those, Campbell Page, one of the job agencies. And there was this amazing, I just have to put my laptop on charge. There's this amazing woman who was consulting and leading this group by the name of Blaženka. And that was sort of the first person in that environment, that was coming and consulting with these job agencies who I'd had a lot of experience with since quitting school, and who I used to make a lot of trouble for because I just had that little that rascality where I wanted to, not be well behaved. But then I met Blas, and she was turning it all around. And she said, one day I'm going to bring in this special speaker. And this dude rocked in a suit and started talking about all this stuff that I couldn't fathom at the time, but it still made sense, And then he simply at the end of it said he'd put out a call to action, and that was, I'll stick around, and if anyone wants to have a chat, then I'll be here. And that dude was you. And that's where my first exposure to mentorship begun. And from that point on, I had these horrible tattoos on my arm and on my neck, or what you used to call the job stopper. And I had a negative attachment to that, as much as it would have stopped, getting jobs, having this bad looking homebrew tattoo on my neck. And you offered to pay for the removal through laser removal surgery from that. But as much of a massive gift that was, and wasn't, I was very like, oh, what does this guy want? I was very distrusting, and I had trouble accepting, this massive gift from this guy I'd only just met. And those journeys from when we'd have a session and he'd pick me up in the car and we'd drive up there, it was those conversations and the little lunches and coffees we had before and after, and the fact that you were there for that every step of the way as well. Those conversations really paved the way for what I do now, which is that life philosophy, changing a narrative. When you met me, I still had a little bit of, I was still a little homophobic, still a little racist here and there from partly from my upbringing. But you helped me, along with other things, redefine that narrative, that wasn't my narrative, that was you know, the people in my last narrative. So that was the big thing there, and the rest writes itself. It's been a journey since then, and you know, and on the hero's journey, everyone has that mentor that has that call to action, and that began with you. And now I'm in a great position to be able to give back and do that, because you said once to me, I don't want anything in return. I just know that you'll do that for someone else one day. And I found myself saying the exact same thing to someone I mentored. And it was like a big, you know.
Light bulb moment. Yeah.
So it was, that's my youth work.
It's interesting, Rick. They say mentor or teacher. You ever heard that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears? I more subscribe to when the student is ready, the teaching appears. Now, for me, in watching you grow and go through all your transitions of difficulty, you know, all the tattoo removal and the emotional stuff, the acceptance, and then you struggling to get qualified, and how hard it is for you to establish a youth resource. I've been there. I know how hard it is. There's a lot of learning in that for me too, and there's a lot of reverse mentoring that you're unaware of, because you can't operate in a vacuum. You have to collaborate with people. And I think, from a point of view, one of my other people, I don't like to say I'm mentoring somebody or they're mentoring me, because they're relationships, right? Yes, I'm older and I've got some background I can pass on, but I get just as much. And I work with another guy, Adam, who's in the health arena, and he's had a profound effect on my health. Yes, I've mentored and coached him in certain things, but he's certainly mentored and coached me as well. And he's challenged me in a lot of ways. And what I'm finding on the journey that I'm in with health and well-being is, at 60, I'm headed up to 68. There's not very many people in my social scene that can keep up with me. You know, they can't walk at the same speed. They can't get involved in the same physical activities and projects. They don't have an optimism for the future. My father lived till 97. So what am I going to do with the next 30, 40 years? You know, it's like, I'm 35, 40 in a 68-year-old body. I still want to go on all the adventures, do the travel, have dreams, get things, do things. So when I see the youth stunted at 15, 18, 20, 25, 30, and they're feeling that they've got no optimism of future, I'm devastated in my heart. My compassion just, you know, like what I've seen happen to you. I've got to tell you, I've had tears in my eyes of joy when I've seen you and others. I mentored and coached this guy. He's a family friend, and his because I'll keep him anonymous, but he's been an alcoholic for most of his life, and just recently he's taken on a challenge not to take the alcohol for a period of 30 days for a charity. This blew my mind. It just like, he read my book, and we had some great sessions. I watched him walk forward, I watched him walk back. But the beauty, what really, really excites me is when I see you might have had all this stuff going on with these people, but you walk away, and then 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, of their own volition, with no one else there, they get up and make that change. They stand up and boom, and you go, you don't take credit for it. It's not about you. But you know, you've planted a seed, and you and 10 others or 100 others have planted seeds. I mean, it's never one person, but for me, what's given my life purpose and meaning myself is giving compassion, being concerned about people's health and well-being. You know, I have an optimistic future. I work out 3 or 4 times a week. I've got all this stuff going on. And I love my life, and I love the people in it. I don't want to be someone that's looking forward to a walking frame in 6 months, 12 months, or an operation, a serious operation. Now, I know sometimes from poor decisions earlier on that people end up there. But what I would like to say in this moment, because we're going to wrap this up soon, what I would like to say is youth, look at this 68-year-old guy with energy and has passion and loves his life. I made decisions when I was your age, Rick. I made decisions of what I would and wouldn't continue to do. And sometimes I said, well, I'm keeping that mischief for a while. I'm not ready to let it go. But in stages, like a rocket going up and the fuselage dropping off, I let go of my bad habits. And then I started to embrace routines. And this is what it's done for me. I have a lot of close, caring, loving relationships in my life. The lovely lady and I are no longer married, but we're still really cool friends and we have the highest regard and respect for each other. But I don't have a dysfunctional family. I have 3 children that I'm connected to that I love very much and that I'm in regular contact with. And when I do have interactions with the ex, they're always pleasant and enjoyable. And there's admiration and respect 2 ways. So I don't have any regrets. My interaction with youth is still passionate because they're our future. I'm not disinterested in people my age, beyond and below, but some of them are so bitter, twisted, angry, regretful. You can't get into where someone is closed. So there's open, there's closed, and there's arrested. So with people who are open, you can pour it all in, you can make the changes, you can give them all the resources. People who are arrested, they appear to be closed and you can't deal with that. But, you know, I get the crowbar on the lock. It's like pause on the VCR and I pull like crazy. If the lock breaks and they become open, I pour it all in. But if the crowbar breaks and they remain closed, and they are closed, it's thank you for flying Lufthansa. I'm out of there because I can't have closed. But I know with the work you're doing, I'm passionate to support you. That's why I brought you on here to promote what you do. It's Manor Youth Project. Rick Boland, you'll find a website and a Facebook page out there. Do you want to tell us about how people can get in touch with you and get involved in youth programs? And Rick will be part of my FKC Health practitioning practice, so he'll be able to do youth work and counselling through that my website as well. So tell us about your stuff on the way out so that people can have a good wrap up.
Well, I'm on the social media. I've got to keep up that currency. got to stay updated with all that. We have a Facebook page. You can just find us, Manor Youth Project, on Facebook. That's MANA Youth Project. And we're on Instagram as well under the same name. And we have a website that's goes up and it comes down. It goes up, it comes down. I don't know. It's a good place to put information and downloadable stuff on, but I tend to use social media more because, I don't know, young people, even parents and organizations and stuff, it's all social media now. I mean, I find it hard to keep the website up. So, but I'm very active on Facebook, and you can even, I think, book through there and find information on all the programs. And sometimes we do lives. I update the same sort of, when I make a post on Facebook, it goes onto Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn as Rick Boland. I'm not on the Twitter thing, but trying to get a YouTube channel up and running after coronavirus goes away and everything gets turned back on. So yeah, you can find us on the mains, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I'm hoping to add more content to that YouTube very soon.
Well, several years ago, because I was reaching out to a lot of people, I had a very strong Facebook channel with a lot of business pages. So collectively, I was reaching out to about 10,000 people. I also had the LinkedIn, 2,500 people, and I had the Twitter going, 4 websites, book sites, everything. you've got Manor Youth Project, and if anyone wants a free copy of my book, which is The Keys to Happiness and Self-Love, all they've got to do is message me through one of my social media channels, and I'm happy to email you the ebook. And Rick has written an incredible book on youth mentoring from the Manor Youth Project. It was released how long ago, Rick? About 3 or 4 weeks?
Probably a couple of months now. Probably about a month and a half, 2 months.
Would you like to
that's
just do a heads up on that? So if anybody's after that book, where they can go and how they can get that, and what it's about.
So the ebook, I kind of label it as an ebook / community resource manual, which I kind of like the sound to, because it's very grassroots. The name of it is called The Towers of Grassroots Mentorship, and it's about empowering the community to take their ideas and their inspirations to help their community, to help young people, make it actionable with the least possible reliance on government or council. So it's basically the philosophy of, if you want to do it. Here's a template. You don't have to follow it. You don't even have to agree with a lot of it. But if you get a little hint of inspiration from it and you use it, then that's what it's all about, you know. So I'll give Frederick a link to that as well. And it is a paid product. It's only $8, but the idea behind that model is for professionals in the field, in youth work or community or mentorship or whatever. Anyone can buy it. But the idea is for them to buy it, to look at it, and for that money to then get recycled back into the resource so that physical copies can be made, and they can be given out to agencies and organizations and community hubs and all that sort of business, so that then the public can access it for free. So it's a very trickle down thing. It's professionals buy it, they utilize it however they want, but the money gets recycled and it makes it available to others that might not be able to afford it.
That's great.
So that's on PayHip. So I'll give Frederick a link to that.
Yeah, I'll put it in the notes when I post this on YouTube. And in relation to my book, it was produced in English, Spanish, Hindi, and Tagalog. So I did it in 4 languages 4 years ago, and it's available in Spanish and English on Amazon. However, feel free to hit me up, and I'm more than happy to give you any of those copies for free, because I produced it similarly to you as a resource to support people. Well, we come to the conclusion of our short time here on the screen, and thank you, viewers, for getting through this and listening to us, and hope that we can somehow make a difference in your life, as all the recipients of our services have made an impact in ours. Thank you so much.
And as you've impacted me.
Anything you'd like to say, Rick?
No, I think you summed it up really well, and I echo what you say once again, and I really feel like I'm excited for this next step and to see what we can do, what lives we can change, and we'll go from there, see what happens. It's all part of the journey.
Yeah, thanks so much, Rick, and we'll do this again. Ciao.
Catch you.